Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here for another commentary track for Superhero Saturday, She-Hulk, Episode 7, The Retreat. I've got to say, I'm really loving She-Hulk. I really am. I think the obviously the super long now tease of Daredevil is like extremely funny to me. Yes, I want to see him, just because I really love Charlie Cox's version of Daredevil, and supposedly it's a different version than what we saw previously with him in the Netflix series. So I'm excited to see what they do there. But as like also of never seeing anything of She-Hulk, and this now going to be the third time we'll see something of Daredevil, like I'm still really into She-Hulk. She-Hulk is awesome. Yeah, like the comedy for me is just here. It's just straight up my alley. Like I love it. It's 30-minute episodes. Like it's my favorite kind of like TV watching. If I'm being honest, like I feel like it just goes down like water, and you're just always wanting more. And like at the end of every episode, I'm always like, man, I want to watch one more. So I think for me, for She-Hulk, they hit the sweet spot for all these Disney Plus shows. Like most of them have all, except for maybe What If, have all run like those 45-minute marks or so. And like they've all been good. I've liked them all to varying degrees. Some more than others, but like I did like the run times of What If, and I'm really liking the run times here. Like I don't feel cheated on time. I feel like everything is really good in each episode and like very contained. So I really like it. I really like She-Hulk. She-Hulk's a lot of fun. The coolest thing though that She-Hulk is giving us, I think, is the true, real, superpowered, non-superpowered, living together, working together, and stuff. Like the fact that like her boss Holloway, like when they had that Titania like lawsuit or whatever, being sued for trademark infringement that Jen ends up winning. When he's eating his candy and he's like, are you okay, sir? No, not really. And like that whole thing, like you would think, being in the presence of a She-Hulk, maybe he would act different, but he's not. She's still like, he is her boss, and like he's pissed at her. Doesn't matter if she's She-Hulk like or not. So that was like one example of it. I love the way that Nikki dealt with all of Mr. Immortal's ex-wives or ex-partners, I should say, and it was great. It's great. I love it. I also love the seeing the bar and just people interacting there. Those have been like really good things. You just get a really good sense of like living in this world and all of that. And so, with that being said, let's dive into the episode 7, The Retreat. It opens in Jen's bathroom. She's getting ready. She's taking a shower. She's getting a text from Josh. They're obviously getting ready to go on a date. And then she like steps out of the shower, and then there's this really great shot of her closing the door and then opening the door really quickly. And when she closes the door, she's in her like towel from just getting out of the shower and everything like that. But then she like opens the door and she's in her like all white and like blue polka dot dress or whatever it is. And I just love that shot. I love things like that, like just doing the quick doo doo like that. With doors, you can do it with like windows and stuff like that in movies and everything. In movies and TV, it's just they're fun. They're fun little shots and edits to put in there. They're just neat. I like them. And so again, I really like that. I thought it was really great. Then I like this little like montage of like pre-date like jitters she's going through. She's like, she takes a shot. She's getting, her hair ready. She's taking some selfies and stuff. Just like, just great. They go out. They have the date. It seems to be, great date. They're talking and like, they're eating at like a food truck or something. And then at the end of the night, they do the awkward like handshake, hug, goodbye kind of thing. Like we've all been there. That's hilarious. Um, then it just like kicks into the montage of the rest. We see Another, text of them like texting during work hours, fries with milkshake, food truck idea. That's really interesting. It's basically like, I don't know, taking Frosties and fries on the road. Okay, I'm down. Sold me. Sold me at fries. Milkshake's just a bonus. Um, they go to another date on like another like, I don't know, marketplace kind of thing or something. And then we've got the tease kiss goodbye, which is really funny. And then she's like confused why she did that, and goes back out there and he's gone, which was interesting. Because like normally you would say for a this dude's gonna be a love interest or someone kind of important, because as of right now, any people that have been dubbed her like datees, or people she's dated, they have. I mean, they showed up in court to win the Titania case, but otherwise they only show up twice and then they're gone. So now we saw him at the wedding. We met him at the wedding. They hit it off. We see him in this episode. They're going on a few dates. So is this guy a keeper? Does he like Jen? I don't know. So we he's gone. They get the confused look. Like she's like, "Why'd I do that?" He's gone. Set another date. They go to the drive-in movie theater and they're all like awkward and like adorably like looking at each other and stuff. It's great. She invites him in. They sleep together. This is Thursday night. This is the end of the montage. Jen wakes up. He's gone in the morning. She texts, "That was fun. Can't stop smiling." No response. The next day, later that day, Friday, in Jen's office, Nikki asks about Jen being nominated for Female Lawyer of the Year, which is cool because I don't even know if they've been like teasing that like in the outskirts of like this Female Lawyer of the Year award, but I guess if people are going to make an attack now on Jen and She-Hulk, it'll probably be there because there will be a bunch of innocent people there, all like in attendance, all lawyers. Maybe not. Maybe they don't want to be lawyered by all of those lawyers if they attack someone. I don't know. But maybe if there is a ceremony, we see an episode, and I think there's 9 episodes in the series. Yeah, we got 2 more. If this is episode 7, we got 8 and 9. So, we're in the final third. We're in the last third of this series now. Wow. We're in the last third. Interesting. It's been a wild ride. Either way, so we're in Friday. We're at Friday later in the day. Nikki's talking about the lawyer, the Female Lawyer of the Year award, which is pretty cool. Good for you, Jen. And then it's like, or are you just going down a rabbit hole on that intelligentsia site? And she's like, I don't care what a bunch of man babies are saying to me on the internet, which is awesome. I love it so much. It's so funny. She's still waiting for a text from Josh, and Nikki's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I slept with Josh. We haven't, and he hasn't texted me back yet. And she's like, first 12 hours after you sleep with someone, you just kind of feel icky sometimes, and it's no big thing. You'll be over it. But then Jen's like, but in this day and age, there is no reason to just send a text back. Which is pretty funny, I guess. Unless your phone's off, dead, in a ditch, all things that Jen kind of throws out there and is like, I hope he's all of them if that's why he's not getting back to me. So then we have the awesome Saturday morning like breakfast of her just eating her cereal and shit, and oh man, that's funny because like her Jen's face, Tatiana Maslany, her face is just perfect of like pure distraught and like pure like what the hell is going on, what am I doing, what can I do, how can I get this, how can I get myself better, how can I get this better, I need something here. Still no response from Josh. We do get a really funny shot of the Muppets and Miss Piggy breaking out of the bars and escaping. That's pretty funny. Then it seems to be like Saturday night now, and she gets a notification, but it's not from Josh, so she goes to bed. Wakes up Sunday fun day, to call. Not Josh. It is the call from the parole officer to one Emil Blonsky, and he is like, hey, we got a notification that Blonsky's inhibitor malfunctioned, and she's like, oh, he turned into the Abomination. Well, cool. Thanks for letting me know. And and he's like, nah, well, I need to go up there, and I wouldn't mind you coming up there with me, as backup, being all greened out and everything. And it's really funny. It's really funny because this parole officer is clearly extremely terrified of Emil Blonsky, and he wants a little bit of backup. And to be fair, if allegedly Emil Blonsky did tamper with his thing, and he was violating some of his parole, like, this is something that his lawyer should be there for and should know and like be around for the questioning and everything. And she's like, yeah, that's ultimately the determination that Jen comes to, is like, I'm his lawyer. If he actually did something, like, I should be there for him. So they all go, because Indy's like, and the parole officer's like, I didn't like catch you in the middle of any of your plans for like a Sunday, right? And she's like, nope, I had nothing. I had no plans at all. It's awesome. When they drive in, and she's driving into to Blonsky's place to meet the parole officer, we get her checking her text, and then she's like rocking out to some Hanson's MMMBop. That's a favorite for my wife, so I'm sure she really liked that when we watched it. She loves a good Hanson drop-in anywhere. I think she even still sees them in concert. Beside the point. So she's driving in, she's listening to Hanson. She gets there. We see the parole officer outside of his car, like fiddling with like whatever mechanical thing to open up the gates, or maybe call Blonsky to have him open them up. By the time we get there, the gates are opening, so Jen just keeps on going. We hear the parole officer, whoa, wait, Jen, wait for me. And it's like really funny. It's hilarious, actually. His total like uncomfortableness of being there the entire time is awesome. Now with the retreat compound itself, it's a huge place. This is a big place with a lot of cool stuff. But then, Blonsky meets with the parole officer, and, Jen is She-Hulk. Blonsky was saving his favorite chicken princess from an electric fence, so he might have gotten shocked from that. And the parole officer like looks at it, like fixes it, realigns it and everything that he needs to, whatever metrics or testing or diagnostics he needs to. He does it, it's all realigned, it's all sending the signal again, and then they're like, yeah, maybe stay away from electric fences. Hey, just so we don't have to come back out here. And then the parole officer is like gone. The second he has done what he needed to do, he is in his car and he is outie. So Jen is still talking with Emil Blonsky. Then Manbull and El Aguilar come and destroy her car. Basically, they're fighting, and they give us a whole bunch of backstory about them, and Jen's like, that is a lot of backstory, a lot of unnecessary backstory, and it still doesn't explain why you destroyed my car. And then Blonsky's like, hey, Manbull, let's take this to the garage. And he's like, my name is Man Bull, not Mechanical Bull. And like, oh, wow, how long have you been holding on to that one? Yeah, that felt forced. Oh, you too. It's a great little scene. I love it. It's so good. Like that little interaction there between Jen and Manbull, like of like, she's like, it did feel a little forced, and he's like, you too, like his face and stuff that he gives, and it's like, he's so hurt. He's so hurt. It's so funny. Shouldn't be laughing at that dude's pain, but like, oh man, that's funny. And so they talk about getting the car moved to the garage, but then they don't do it. They're calling a tow truck that will come and get it later. Plonsky and Jen talk a little bit, talk about going to the Yerk on the Yerk, and no, I'm not steaming this out. She's like, I got work to do, so if you could get me Wi-Fi and a desk, and sorry, we don't have Wi-Fi, outside distractions and all of that, And she's like, well, this is not how I wanted to spend my day. Blonsky keeps going like, maybe this was the way you needed to spend your day, and not in, and maybe this, and she's like, no, I have things I need to do, and blah, blah. And it's like, all right, maybe you're not in a teaching mood right now. And I respect that. And I'm around if you need it. And so then we get the soon-to-be therapy session, where Jen now leaves the Yerk. Blonsky just walks away, and then she just starts walking around the compound. Just starts walking around the compound herself, trying to find a signal. We get the awesome little animation at the top of the screen with the bars that keep kind of searching for service, and it keeps saying no service and stuff on there. That's always neat. I love seeing little things like that. That's always fun to see. Because I'm always like, that's so cool. Like, I'm such a simple man. I'm just like, that's so cool. And so she's walking around. She finds a new building made out of like all wood and stuff, and it's like really big. She goes in there, and turns out there's a therapy session with Emil Blonsky, Ella Aguilera. We got Manbull in there. We got Porcupine. We got Saracen. Saracen, yeah, that's all of them. And but Jen walks in, kind of interrupts the meeting a little bit. It's like, hell yes, because as soon as she gets in there, she gets one little bar of service, so she's able to start like texting people and like seeing if Josh reached back out to her and whatnot. Then we enter the group therapy, and this is really interesting. We've got. Gotta say, the introduction though of Porcupine is really funny here. He's like, Porcupine, because he's a porcupine. Saracen, he thinks he's a vampire, but Porcupine is a porcupine. What? Alright, guess that's how we take it. And so they're all talking. They're talking about at this point they're talking about Manbull and Aguila. And their like codependency. I'm so bad. I'm gonna just butcher that name every single time. I'm so bad at enunciating. But they're talking about their codependency and like how Manbull's like, every time I see you, it's like kind of triggering. You look like a matador, and I was like, well, I did do a light matadoring in college. And Manbull's like, what? Why would you tell me that? It's so funny. It's so funny. I don't know. If you don't appreciate that, then I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. I don't know. I find it hilarious, and like, I don't know. I feel like that's supposed to be funny. So they're talking about their codependency. Saracen brings up like, yeah, they've been spending a lot of time together. I feel like there is some stuff. They even end up switching seats and whatnot. Moving to the other side, and like even Blonsky is trying to talk with them, and like El Aglia, he keeps cutting Manbull off and keeps trying to speak for them, and then that's finally when they switch seats and everything. And then it's all interesting. It's all good, like interesting development of how they're trying to work together through their problems and stuff, and all of that. And Jen's just kind of like sitting outside of the circle, just kind of like listening, working on her phone and everything. And then one of the thugs walks in who had one of the Asgardian weapons that was trying to beat up on Jen and steal her blood early on. Where we got that Thunderball dude, where they talk about him, they bring him back, they bring back his name later, in a later previously on episode. I think it was before episode 6, maybe before, yeah, episode 6 maybe is when they do it. And so but either way, they call him Thunderball. In the original airing of the episode, that nobody has used names there, so we get this guy who comes back now. He's the one with the crowbar, and to be fair, Jen's like arguably very mad and angry and does not like this guy and really wants to beat him up and hurt him. And to be fair, he was one of 4 dudes beating up and trying to attack a woman in a dark alley. Scumbag. Scumbag. Like, I get it. I'm Team Jen on this. Screw that dude. And his 3 fucking dummies. But we do, like, as soon as Jen sees him, we get an awesome, like her breaking the 4th wall. Like, hey, did he get a previously on? Did we do a previously on him? Alright, screw it. We're doing a previously on. And we do a previously on where you see him in the gang and, like, they're with their Asgardian weapons looking to attack her. And, you know, they do use the needle to try and get her blood there, which is also very interesting to me here, just on a side note, when we see the previously on and him being here. We know that Abomination is a part of the Thunderbolts later on. We know that She-Hulk is a part of, apparently, Captain America New World Order, which I wonder if the new Captain America will lead into the Thunderbolts due to fallout of things, of events in that movie, and that might also lead to why Armor Wars is being changed from a series to a movie as well. But either way, I'm excited to see how this goes and how all this connects, and I'm wondering if this thug is actually like still working for who we can only assume he was working for, that Hulk King guy that we keep seeing like text and messages kind of pop up and stuff now. I wonder if he's trying to infiltrate like this Blonsky retreat thing to, one, try and eventually manipulate Blonsky out of it, but 2, to also get this kind of access to like Jen, knowing that she can show up there at any point or whatever. It's interesting. I have some questions on this overall big bad, because if I'm being honest, like I don't know who it is. Obviously, Josh is working for him. We haven't seen Pugh in a little bit. Again, that dude played Adrian Chase in the Arrowverse. It's dumb to just assume that he's just always going to be a bad guy. But he could be. He could be a bad guy, you know, again, like nefariously working in there. It'll be interesting if Hulk King ends up being Valentina, who we've seen kind of pop up at the end of like Black Widow and things like that. She's kind of pulling together her own team. And I think we even see her. Do we see her show up at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I believe so. And maybe even at Hawkeye we see her show up in. But either way, I know she shows up at Black Widow because she talks to Florence Pugh there. And so she's starting to make up her own little team that will eventually be the Thunderbolts and all of that. So it'll be really interesting to see if this is like the seeds of like this infiltration of like people trying to like get these superpowers so that they can then start manipulating them again for their own use. And then we start getting kind of like the battle of 2 fronts of the cosmic stuff that we'll get with like Kang the Conqueror and Quantumania and all of that stuff. And then if we're going to start getting like a lot more of like the ground level, like a lot more of the like laws and all of that kind of stuff, it could be a little bit boring and drawn out to some degree for that, but it'll be interesting if they tackle all of it, and if they do, how they do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm also really excited for Werewolf by Night. I'm stoked for that. That's going to be sweet. But so this guy, Magic Crowbar, and then so Jen gets him throws him into of well-stacked chairs that Manbull had just stacked himself. He says it like 14 times throughout the rest of this episode. He really wants us to let us know that he stacked those chairs and he worked on it and he tried to do something there. You know, he tried to do some good for us. Okay, cool, Manbull. But then like Jen and this thug are willing. He's like, I'm willing to work on our stuff if you're not willing to kill me right now, and they do. So they sit down. Jen sits down in a calming chair. She joins the circle. They work on stuff. He's like, I didn't need a magic crowbar. I just needed to work on me. And my boy, and that magic crowbar just made me and my boys act like idiots. I needed to learn that I needed to just work on me. And she's just like, I'm not a super villain. She's like, you attacked 4-on-1, attacked a woman in a dark alley by herself. You are super villains. And, God. It's like, I hear you, Jen, and I take radical responsibility, and I'm very, very sorry. And it's like, I wish I could believe him. I haven't seen actions that say differently from him. I guess he's in this retreat trying to work. That's a step. I'll give him that. He seems to be there. For whatever reason, Jen seems to be. Jen's on Emil Blonsky's like property. She's gonna follow like his rules there, and what he has deemed thus far has not been probably anything outside of anyone else was showing any kind of real aggression that he would be doing the same. And so it's interesting that she's just kind of buying into this instead of being like, wait, no, what? I don't even need to be here. I'm out of here. But she also doesn't have a way to get her car out because it's destroyed by Manbull. So we got that. Either way, Jen has every right to be mad at this thug. This dude is a douche. He is a terrible person. He might be feeling bad now and trying to make his way towards amends and remorse, and that's great. Like, hey, like that, more people should want to do that. That's awesome. But, I don't know. It's interesting. Jen does go very sarcastic on him, and it's, like, very funny because it's an eye roll to her. She doesn't believe him. And then, El Aguilia, he, oh man, he's like, I think Jennifer has something else going on. And she's just here to get her kicks off of us and like us talking and us talking and like and Jen's like, I'm not getting my kicks, I'm fine. And then Porcupine's like, you're not fine. Storming through with rage, tossing people into perfectly stacked chairs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Emil Blonsky, though, like, gives Jen an opportunity to speak on it. And it's like, so, with what they're all saying here, got anything you want to say? Got anything you want to talk about? Then we hear the Josh story. Meets Josh at the wedding, goes on a couple of dates, sleeps with them. Then we get the last text of, like, I can't stop smiling. Like, I had a great time, can't stop smiling. Or that was fun, I can't stop smiling. And then ghosted. Nothing. And then they're like, well, and then she's like, well, that's not exactly the last thing I said. And they're like, no? Well, what did you say? What did you say, Jennifer? And it is, oh man, poor Jen. She's like, hope you are all right. I haven't heard from you. I just wanted to make sure you were, and hope you were all right. Blushing smiley emoji. And everybody's like, oh, Jen, that's a bad look. That's bad. Like, I don't need you to tell me my mistakes. I have my mother for that. Might be one of the most real lines I've ever heard in the MCU about anything. I don't need you to tell me about my mistakes. I have my mother for that. Holy cow. Oh, Jen Walters, you and I are not that different. You and I are not that different. That's so funny. And then, they're like, maybe it's time to think about he really did ghost you. And then Saracen's like, hey, maybe he wanted your blood, which I mean we know is true at this point because they had the needle, so they were trying to extract her blood, and they say like once she turned green, it was too thick to like get through, so they were trying to get her. They were trying to get her like that and trying to get her blood. So he might be onto something here, but the one line is like, not everyone's your dad, and it's like, is that another Blade reference? Which, supposedly, Blade just lost its original director. Mahershala Ali is very frustrated with the production process of this. But now they brought on Sam Raimi, I heard. There's a rumor that Sam Raimi's coming on to do it. Maybe. I mean, Raimi's good at horror. I liked Multiverse of Madness. Not a lot of people did, but I liked it. I thought it was fine. I would have liked to have seen what Scott Derrickson could have kept doing with the franchise and stuff with that, but that's beside the point. I mean, if Raimi comes in and is kind of like this horror fixer for the MCU to kind of get it all to like a level playing field, like I'm here for it. I love Raimi. Like, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Darkman, and then obviously like the Spider-Man, like his Spider-Man trilogy. Like, sign me up. I'm here for it. Again, I liked Multiverse of Madness. I thought like the horror and the gore and like stuff and like the like zombie Doctor Strange that they did in that was really great. I thought that stuff was really cool. It looked really good. I've got a feeling that the Blade stuff has to do with blood, and the amounts of blood that a vampire should be able to show, and the amounts of blood that Disney wants to show. I've got a feeling that that's what it's going to come down to, and I would say if you're going to try and do something that's pretty dark and push the boundaries, look to The Dark Knight. Joker literally is slicing people's faces off open in that movie. We don't see 1 ounce of blood. Not 1 ounce of blood in that stuff. If you shoot it right, you can work around it and you can add the suspense and the terror to it. But that takes a lot of time and a lot of planning. Raimi can do it. There's no question about it. I can't think of the original director's name. I'm sure he could have done it too. But it's interesting with that. So sorry about my Blade piece here. So not everyone's your dad. And then Jen goes into her Jen's friend monologue, which is a really interesting, awesome monologue. She's like, have you ever had that like a more attractive best friend who things are just like easier for and it's just better for all of them and everything? And like, yeah, that's what hello, She-Hulk. And it's really talking about, and this was something actually Colin, one of the co-founders here, and I were talking about. He was like, I feel like they're punching down on Jen a lot. And he told me that probably back in episode 5, maybe 4 or 5. He was like, I feel like they're punching down on her, and they shouldn't, because like Jen Walters like is a good-looking woman, like absolutely attractive woman. Any man would be happy should be happy to have her in their life. Yeah, it is. It's interesting that they did, and I think episode 5 is where it like really came to a peak, and where I was even like, ooh, I think they're punching down on her too much. But either way, she's talking about it here, which is great, and talks about it, the more attractive person everyone is paying attention to, and all of that stuff. And this is interesting because as She-Hulk is talking about it, I say She-Hulk this time because during this whole conversation, she really is splitting herself between She-Hulk and Jen and saying, Jen is this and She-Hulk is that, and talking about them like in the third person like that, like almost like she's neither, which is super interesting because this kind of stuff that like Bruce Banner was talking about like way back when, I had to work to combine them both, and like Jen was able to switch between them, but she never said that she had that like dueling power in there that Bruce had of like the monster who the Hulk is trying to fight. But maybe she never had that monster there because maybe they were never connected, and she's had her life so like compartmentalized and so like in its place like that, that She-Hulk was always there, and Jen was always there, and she was always able to flow through her different like parts of being and all of that, and like being able to flip that switch from being just like fun Jen out hanging out with Nikki and Pug at the bar or whatever, at the pub having a couple of drinks, to lawyering in court, to now being She-Hulk. She's just always had that switch and that ability to kind of change lanes and change speeds like that. But here, she is very much so. They are very much so. Jen and She-Hulk, they are separate people, and She-Hulk is referring to them very much so as separate people. So I wonder if this is one of those things that like Jen has to come to terms with, almost like the Hulk of like really maybe trying to combine both of them more, living them separately. I don't know, but it's interesting because it really stood out that it's like when she was talking about She-Hulk, she was talking about She-Hulk. She was talking about Jen, she was talking about, and they were very even distinct in her mind, which I also wonder is part of like her own splitting, because she doesn't see them necessarily as the same herself, because she's allowing outside perspective to come in a little bit on that. So it's interesting. And then she's like, Josh, really likes Jen, and that feels so good for Jen. That's so awesome that somebody just likes Jen. Just Jen. And then he goes, Jen. And that hurts. That sucks. And then holds up his sword and he gets his bioelectricity going and is like, we shall kill Josh! And it's awesome, and like Saracen's like, we will suck his blood, and then the Thug is like, do we really only offer violence to her? And they all like kind of speak to rejection and pain and stuff, and they're like, can't control what others do or how they act. When others reject us, it reminds us of the times when we reject ourselves. Not enough time. Maybe you're not spending enough time on Jen or with Jen. Jen seems like a pretty cool person, and, pretty great. Pretty tasty. Oh, Saracen, what are you doing? It's like, oh God, I've gone off the rails. Somebody help me. Maybe there's not only this Josh guy, only one person who would like to hang out with Jen. Maybe a group of people. Group of dudes who'd like to hang out and see Jen and like spend some time with her. And it's really great. Because then, she changes. She-Hulk goes from She-Hulk to Jen. And she's smiling, and she's got like a little happy tear of like, it's a real breakthrough. Like, she worked through her problem. She stopped bottling it up inside, and she talked to people about it. And she talked to people that she probably never would have expected. At the beginning of the episode, she wouldn't have had this breakthrough. I mean, shit, we even saw her with the Thug dude. She was ready to rip that dude in half. She was ready to make that dude a pretzel. And so like by the end of it, they've all been on a journey together. They went somewhere. They became something. They supported each other. It was really cool. It was really great. It was like, this is a thing that shows like therapy helps, even if you're not just like depressed or something, like, or like bipolar. Like sometimes just being able to have a little outlet to just talk, get something off your chest can help. Can do wonders for you. And so it was really great. It was really great to see this and have this. Porcupine, after Jen changes, she's like, it felt really good. You know what would feel really good, Porcupine? He takes off his mask, and boy, does he stink. Apparently, the boy does not shower underneath there, and doesn't, never has. And he's like, "Oh, am I ashy?" And like worried about that. And they're like, "No, you need a bathe. You just need a wash, man. It's that simple. Just take a bath." Because porcupines bathe too, I'm sure to some degree. Uh, and then in the end, they have Jen delete Josh's number. And then she goes into the yurk, and she goes in and she likes it, and they're all clapping. They're like, "Yeah, awesome." The gang gives her a goodbye, and they make a card by Jen. We love Jen, or we love She-Hulk and Jen. Goodbye, the gang. And then Blonsky, like, they're all like, bye, bye, bye. And then Blonsky and Jen kind of walk away towards, like, the tow truck. And Blonsky's like, when I know it says gang, but you'll make that clear to the parole board that it's not, like, a real gang. And she said, oh, no, I got it. Because being in a gang, that's a bad word to use. But it's also interesting because, oh man. So then them putting the word gang in here also makes me wonder, like, is Blonsky, like, really trying to play a long con here and trying to still do something nefarious? I mean, we got it from Wong that, like, Wong even backed him up. Wong was like, I needed an opponent for battles to prove keep myself strong for being the Sorcerer Supreme. Like, I needed a battle-worthy opponent. And so I don't know. Maybe Polanski's not even doing something like super nefarious or anything, but he could be up to something no good, which will be interesting nonetheless. We got the tow truck. It's Slot's towing, based off of Dan Slott. The driver is actually named Dan, which is really awesome because a lot of this She-Hulk story is based off the Dan Slott run. I mean, I think even Dan Slott himself has, like, dubbed it, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Like, I don't think anyone's really written more, like, issues or stories of She-Hulk than Dan Slott himself. So that's probably where the biggest pull of this series has probably come from. I haven't read any of Dan Slott's, like, She-Hulk. I didn't know really much about She-Hulk, other than basic things like Bruce Banner's cousin and all that stuff at the beginning of it, is a lawyer and breaks the fourth wall, sort of like Deadpool. So other than those basic things, I didn't really know much. After Jen is driving off into the hills and stuff, we got what would have been, again, it's interesting that they gave us the teasers and then they started sneaking these teasers up into the episodes themselves. And we get what would have been the teaser of 3 days earlier, and we see the events of Josh. We see Josh waking up. He is a scumbag! Josh is a scumbag! And he is copying her phone, all of the data that she has on her phone. Total scumbag. Copying her data, duplicating her phone and all the data to his. He is texting the Hulk King. He is taking a picture of her asleep in her human form. And he sends a picture of, like, a needle squirt, a chemical vial, and a thumbs up. So I can only assume that one of two things happened here. I wonder if they got Jen's blood, or what if they injected? They have been trying to inject Jen with something. They keep talking about the blood, thinking that they may want it. Maybe they want to get something into her blood to mess with her. Maybe we've been instead of extracting it, maybe they're trying to inject her with something. I wonder. Because, to be fair, we don't see him pull out any hairs from her. And we don't see Josh, like, take any, like, real DNA or anything from her. Don't see her, like, give her a shot or anything like that. So I don't know where they got all of that from, but it would be possible that he could slip her something. And if they needed her to have it ingested or whatever, and it takes some time to, like, work through her body, or they're trying to slowly do something to her, maybe that's why they went on so many dates, and after this next episode we'll see her freak out. I don't know. But but I'm super excited. And but Josh is working for the Hulk King. We see him texting that, and oh man, that sucked. But I've gone way too long for this episode. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective. I want to thank you all for joining me on this commentary track for She-Hulk episode 7, The Retreat. I hope you all stay safe. Excelsior!